You know, in the long, brutal fight to end slavery in America, the most powerful weapons weren't always made of iron or steel. Sometimes they were made of words. This is the story of how autobiography, speech, poetry, and fiction became these incredible tools for liberation in the hands of people who dared to use them.
Just think about that for a second. That single, chilling statement, spoken by a slaveholder, tells you everything you need to know. It completely exposes the system's greatest fear, that a mind woken up by knowledge could no longer be kept in chains. I mean, this wasn't just some casual opinion. It was the absolute bedrock of their control.
So that really gets us to the heart of what we're talking about today. Why was something we totally take for granted, just, reading a book, why was that so feared? How could a newspaper possibly be more dangerous than a rebellion? Well, the answers are right there in the stories of the people who defy those rules.
Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to look at 4 distinct voices that came together to create this amazing chorus for change. We've got a man who secretly taught himself to read, a woman whose speech just silenced a hostile crowd, a poet who captured a mother's absolute grief, and a novelist who literally changed the heart of a nation.
So let's start with the most personal form of liberation you can imagine. This was a battle that wasn't fought on a field, but inside the mind of one absolutely brilliant and determined young man, Frederick Douglass.
I mean, the stakes here could not have been higher. His mistress had actually started teaching him the alphabet, but her husband found out and furiously put a stop to it. He declared that teaching him to read would make him, and these are his words, unfit to be a slave. Right then and there, in that moment, Douglass understood. The path to freedom was through the very thing they were trying to deny him.
And the way he went about it was just pure genius. He called these his various stratagems. He would cleverly turn the poor white boys he met on the street into his secret tutors. Get this, he'd trade the bread he was supposed to eat for lessons, literally trading bread for the bread of knowledge. And to learn how to write, he'd challenge boys to writing contests, tricking them into showing him how to form letters on fences and walls with a piece of chalk. So clever.
And here's the crucial part. Douglass didn't just keep this incredible victory to himself. No way. He forged that personal triumph into a public weapon. His book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, was so powerful, so well written, that it forced thousands of readers to see the brutal, soul-crushing reality of slavery through his own eyes. In the end, he proved his master right. An educated mind could never, ever be truly enslaved. All right, so from the private, secret act of learning to read, we're going to pivot to the very public act of speaking truth to power. This is where one woman's voice became an absolute force of nature.
Just try to picture this scene, okay? It's a women's rights convention in Ohio, 1851. A bunch of male speakers are up there condescendingly arguing that women are the weaker sex, that they're too delicate and need to be helped into carriages and protected from the world. And into this atmosphere steps Sojourner Truth, a tall, former slave who stands up to answer them.
And boom, with that one question, she just obliterates their entire argument. She's using the undeniable truth of her own life, a life of backbreaking labor that was tougher than any man's, to just expose their hypocrisy. She's not debating some abstract theory. She's presenting the hard evidence of her own body, of her own lived experience.
And this is where she exposes the heart of the matter. She confronts not just the sexism in the room, but the horrific place where sexism and racism meet. She speaks of a mother's grief, a kind of pain that no man in that room could ever possibly imagine. And then she hits them with that same powerful, unanswerable question. She forces everyone there to see that true womanhood isn't about being fragile, it's about incredible strength.
So, from the raw power of a public speech, we're now going to turn to the power of art. John Greenleaf Whittier, a Quaker poet, had this idea that he could awaken the nation's conscience, not with logical arguments, but by tapping into pure emotion.
So in 1838, Whittier publishes this poem, The Farewell of a Virginia Slave Mother. And he doesn't just describe the slave trade. No, he gives a voice to its deepest, most painful wound, a mother's anguish as her daughters are sold away from her, sent down to the brutal rice swamps. The imagery, it's just visceral and absolutely horrifying.
And the real genius of this poem is its refrain. Gone, gone, sold and gone. You hear those words again and again at the end of each stanza, and it's like a tolling bell or this mournful cry. That repetition isn't just some fancy literary trick. It's there to make the reader feel the mother's grief getting deeper and deeper. It echoes in your mind long after you're done reading. It was designed to break your heart, and by breaking it, to open it.
This all leads us to our final voice, and to how words could be weaponized on a massive national scale.
Harriet Beecher Stowe shows how a single story could shift the conscience of an entire country and, quite possibly, help start a war. Just look at that number, 300,000 copies in 1852. In an era before the kind of mass media we have today, this was an absolute phenomenon. The book went on to become the best-selling novel of the entire 19th century. It was nothing short of a cultural earthquake. So, why? Why was it so unbelievably successful? Well, it's because Stowe did what all the politicians and the essayists had failed to do. She made slavery personal. Through characters like Uncle Tom and Little Eva, she forced millions of white Americans, especially in the North, to see enslaved people not as property, not as a political issue, but as husbands and wives and children, as human beings. She essentially weaponized empathy. And this quote, which is famously attributed to Abraham Lincoln, really says it all. Now, whether he said those exact words or not doesn't even matter, because the legend itself captures a profound truth. Uncle Tom's Cabin did more to galvanize anti-slavery feeling than almost any other single thing. It completely changed the national conversation and made the moral cost of slavery impossible for anyone to ignore.
So let's just pull these 4 incredible strategies together to see the whole picture. Each of these voices chose a different kind of weapon, but they were all fighting the exact same war. This really breaks it all down, doesn't it? You had Frederick Douglass using his own life story to bear witness to the truth. You had Sojourner Truth using a live speech to confront injustice head-on. Whittier used poetry to make his readers feel the pain of others. And Stowe used a novel to reframe the entire national debate. 4 different approaches, all aimed at one single goal: liberation.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? These voices from the past are undeniable proof that words have real power. Power to dismantle systems of oppression, power to change hearts, and power to remake the world. It really makes you wonder, in our own time, in a world that's still filled with so much injustice, how are we using ours?